Guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thanks so much for tuning in to what's going to be a rundown of what I think are the best and most essential brushes from Real Techniques. Real Techniques makes such amazing and affordable brushes that last for forever. Like, I still have some of the original brushes they first came out with that I bought when they first came out. Still have them, still use them. But since they first launched, they have gone through many iterations where they have tweaked, relaunched, rearranged sets, launched new collections that I have reviews of here on the channel. And it can make it kind of intimidating if you're looking at the Real Techniques website or looking at the brand on Ulta or wherever you're shopping for Real Techniques. It can be kind of hard to know what are the essentials, what do you really need to get the job done, because the tools are definitely there, but because they sell sets as well as individual brushes, it can sometimes be a challenge to know when you're going to double up on tools and when you might be lacking in your collection. So I thought I would kind of do like a refreshed Real Techniques video, like what I would buy depending on the kinds of looks you like to do, how you like to apply your makeup, what are the essentials from Real Techniques, and what are the sets you can buy to make sure you're not doubling up on tools and you're really maximizing the brushes you get with what you buy. So let's go ahead and get started. First, starting with the face brushes. Now I have one of two sets that I would recommend depending on how you like to apply your makeup. The first of which is the Everyday Essentials set, and this is what I think people who love to apply their makeup with sponges will really like, because it comes with one of the Real Techniques sponges. I am not personally a sponge person. I kind of go back and forth occasionally to my Beauty Blender or the Real Techniques sponge, and between the two, I think the Real Techniques sponge is the closest dupe you can get to a Beauty Blender. So if you like a good sponge, this is the set for you. Obviously, in addition to that, you get 4 other kinds of brushes. One you could use as a foundation brush. It's honestly not my favorite. The foundation or the buffing brush that comes in the other set I'm about to talk about is the winner for me. But you do also get this Expert face brush. It's a little bit more dense than the buffing brush and is slightly pinched in here. So I find it's a little bit streaky when it comes to applying foundation. It takes a little bit longer than my buffing brush to buff product in. What I like this for instead actually is cream contour or cream products in general. Whether it's contour gets in that slight pinched shape to it, I find gets really nicely into that contour zone, or you can use it for blush or highlight, because the fact that these are all synthetic brushes that I'm going to talk about here today makes them great for not just powder, but liquid, cream, gel, you name it. They're versatile across all mediums. So that's what I like to use the Expert face brush for. Then you also get a blush brush in this set, and I absolutely love this brush as well. Although I will say that when you buy them in sets like this, I find they're shaped slightly differently than when you buy them individually, and I'll show you a comparison later because I do recommend you have a blush brush no matter what. But either way, this one is slightly tapered but still fluffy enough so you can pounce a good amount of blush and blend it out really nicely, and yet it's tapered to where if you prefer to apply like a bronzer or even a broad contour with a brush, this will fit nicely in there too. The next brush I want to talk about is the setting brush, and this is great obviously for setting more precise areas around your face, like the under eye area, in your T-zone if you're oily or combo like me and you just want to set a narrow portion of your face. This is great for that, but I also love it for applying highlight. Like, this is my zone for colorful highlighter if you know me, and this is the perfect size brush to really concentrate and focus that color there and then buff it out into the rest of the highlight around my face. So I love it for that too. And then the last brush in this set is the Deluxe Crease Brush. So in theory, this could be a set that you use for your face and eyes. However, of all of the eye brushes Real Techniques makes, this is not my favorite one as a one and done kind of brush. I'll mention that one later. This I find is great, like it suggests, for crease work, for buffing out broad swaths of color all over the lid, but it is kind of hard to get in your inner corner with this guy. More so, I actually really like to apply a liquid concealer. I go between this and my fingers sometimes. More often my fingers, but if I'm going to use a brush, this is going to be the one I use. And something I do want to note is that compared to the Deluxe Crease brush you might find actually I don't think they sell it individually, but in other sets, I have noticed a definite difference. So the one that is sold in the Everyday Essentials set is a little bit fluffier and splays out wider, which I think makes it less appropriate for the eye area or just harder to work with product in your eye area, especially those that might have a smaller lid area. I have a larger area for my lid, and even then I still find that this can just be a little bit overwhelming to do do anything outside of just getting a wash of color across the lid. It's even a little bit much for applying a crease shade because you can pick up a ton of product with this and lay it down really efficiently. So if you grab something that's too deep or too much product, it's just really easy to go overboard with this, and even more so if it's bigger as compared to where you would normally find it in other sets. So just something to be aware of with this set, and something that I noticed in case you're considering this set for yourself. Not a bad thing, just something to be aware of. So that's for the sponge lover. If, however, like me, you prefer to apply your foundation with a brush, this is the set for you. This is the Flawless Base set, and it's changed a little bit since I first purchased it. This is one of the first sets that I purchased from Real Techniques, and I still use the buffing brush to this day. Now I have a new one though, so that's super nice. So this is the buffing brush. This is what I like to use to apply my foundation because it's dense enough to pick up a good amount of product and really work efficiently, but it's splayed out far enough and kind of fluffy enough to make quick work of it. You don't have to worry about it getting too concentrated and really having to go after it like I feel like you kind of have to do with the Expert Face Brush. This does a really good job at just buffing things out super quickly around the face and not leaving any streaks or patchiness with it. It's just such a good go-to brush. Then you also get, this was in the original set, this is the contour brush, and as the name suggests, it does fit perfectly into the contours of your cheeks if you want to use this as a contour brush. But what I find using it more often for is either blush or highlight, because again, it's that perfect shape to where, and in fact, it's probably even better shape for me because unlike this setting brush it's smaller, so it's good for precision work. This is tapered, but still large. So you can do large sections of highlight and then still really hone in on that super precise highlight wherever you might want it. Another brush you get in this set is the square foundation brush. And to be totally honest, this is probably the brush that I use the least from this set. I, as I have just said, prefer to use the buffing brush for all the reasons I just stated. This one I just think gives me more of a streaky application. It takes me longer to blend it all in. And so what I tend to use this for instead, although not very often because it takes a while and I'm lazy, but it is for more of a cut contour look. When you want a really precise situation here under your cheekbones, this is a great brush for that. I just tend to have to like buff and blend it in to make sure it doesn't look like I have this jagged edge across my face. So I tend to skip that step, but just know that is what I prefer to use this brush for over foundation. And last up is a detailer brush, kind of your all-purpose, ultra-precise brush because it has a nice tapered tip, so you can use it to apply your lip products. You could use it to spot conceal across your face if you don't want to go crazy applying concealer over little blemishes you might have. Just take a little on this and just dab it directly onto it to get maximum coverage in an ultra-precise kind of place. You could even also use this for liner. I have pulled one of these out in a last-minute search for a brush if I'm using kind of a kohl liner and I just want a smudgy sort of look. This will let you do that super easily, and because of that tapered tip, you can really easily drag it out to get a precise flick. So I love it for that too. It's just the ultimate multitasker of the detailer brushes. So obviously I love that set. However, you are still missing some components for the rest of your face if you choose that set over the one that I just mentioned. Mostly your blush brushes and maybe a large scale powder brush. So I would recommend one of the two or both if you want to use both, but one of two brushes for those purposes. This is the blush brush and you can buy it standalone on its own, but I do want to show you how it compares to the one that came in that set that I mentioned earlier. You can just see that the standalone brush is a little bit more tapered, it's a little bit more narrow and lacks the fluff of the one that comes in the set. And practically speaking, they function almost identically. The small, like tiny difference I notice is that the standalone blush brush is a little bit better at holding up to applying large scale bronzer or bronzer if you really want to, okay, get out of the way, I'm working here. If you really want to get into the contours of your cheeks with some like bold and precise color, this holds up to that a little bit better than something fluffy like this. So I definitely recommend you pick up the blush brush if you get the Flawless Base set, but honestly it couldn't hurt to pick it up if you get the other one too, just because you could use this this one is your all over powder brush and this one as your more blush, bronzer, that sort of thing. Other powder alternative I have is from the Powder Blue collection, and this is exclusive to the Real Techniques website. It was on Ulta for the longest time, and all of the other sets I am talking about here today are available on Ulta, with the exception of this. I don't know why they pulled it, but apparently that's the only place you can find it, and it is such a luxurious feeling collection. I have a review of the whole thing on my channel. I will link to it, either click the I or in the description box below, but it's this like really nice weighted, has this tapered edge here. It just feels very luxe, and then the brush heads themselves are like very dense, very soft. It's like butter in your hands, and similar to that blush brush, it's a tiny bit fluffier, but it's still tapered at the top to where, again, if you want to use it for all over powder, you can get in the under eye area nicely, but you can also still use it for an all over bronze, blush, I mean, you name it. This is kind of an all-purpose face brush. It's just beautiful. Now let's talk about some eyeshadow brushes, starting off with the brush that I would recommend if you are a one and done eyeshadow kind of person. This is once again from the Powder Blue collection. It is the B04 brush, and it is basically a fluffy tapered blending brush. I love this because it is dense enough to where it picks up a good amount of product, so that whether you are using it in your crease, which is what it's probably built for, you can use it for that, but it picks up enough product to where you can actually really build it nicely across the lid, and that tapered end really helps you get in the inner corner and blend on your lower lash line without things getting too out of hand like they might with something like the Deluxe Crease Brush. This just offers all the right curves and angles to fit every need you might have if you're the kind of person, I think, that likes to apply one, maybe two shadows in your crease, on the lid, you're good to go. This is the one that I would recommend you pick up. If you're looking for something a little bit more advanced, they do have a duo called the Eye Shade and Blend Duo Pack, and this includes the base shadow brush, which honestly, if it were sold individually, I would recommend as a one and done brush over the Powder Blue, even though I love my Powder Blue. This to me is kind of the ultimate because it's a little bit flatter, so it's even better at picking up large amounts or higher concentrations of pigment to really pat and build it across the lid, and yet it has this tapered tip so you can get in the inner corner and it's still fluffy enough to where you can buff it out throughout the crease. This is a total jack of all trades in your brush collection, so I definitely recommend you consider this if you like a one and done brush. And then as a bonus in this set, you get a Deluxe Crease Brush, which for all the reasons I said before is still great for your eye area, and the one that you get in this set is the smaller version as compared to the one you get in that face set. So I think it is better formatted for the eyes, like I said before, specifically in the crease, but you can also use it to really build up product because it has a really nice density to it, whether it is cream, powder, gel, etc. And so together, I think these are the perfect building and blending duo. And then the last set, the Enhanced Eye Set, offers even more bells and whistles if you're looking to do a little bit more with your eye makeup. The first brush you get is the medium shadow brush. This is super similar to the base shadow brush, but a pretty good size bigger. It's a little bit more tapered at the tip, but it's still flat enough to where you can get a good packing of color on across the lid if you want. But I do find that the increase in size makes it a little bit harder to be precise. Then again, you do get more tools in this set that are built more for precision. Speaking of, you have the shading brush, which by comparison is significantly smaller, and so this is what I find I tend to use more if I want just a real concentration of shadow in my outer corner, inner corner, sweep it along the lower lash line. This is really good for that. And then there is also a crease brush, which is called the Essential Crease Brush, appropriately, which is kind of on the smaller end of things. By comparison, here is the Powder Blue Crease Brush, and it lacks both density, bristle length. It has a less tapered tip, but I still find it does a really good job at getting in the crease and doing that work. I tend to prefer something a little bit fluffier, which is why I go to the Powder Blue, but this certainly gets the job done, especially knowing that you have something a little fluffier in this medium shadow brush that you can kind of double team and go back and forth between. Then the last brush in this set is the Fine Liner Brush, and it is just that. I think they've gotten better with these brushes with time. There's something about they've streamlined the end of it and they've just made the actual brush itself even more finely pointed. It is fantastic for an ultra precise winged liner designer look, super easy to use, and it's incredibly tapered. So if you want, you know, a wing you could cut someone with, this will definitely give it to you. And then you also get a tool in here that is not a torture device. It actually just separates your lashes. I don't find I use it all that often because, once again, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to my makeup, but in the event I have a clump emergency with my mascara, this is definitely something that I will reach for to try and work it out from the roots out. But no matter how good it is, I still think these are the things that like makeup nightmares are made of. So those are all of the Real Techniques brushes and sets that I recommend. I hope I covered all my bases, but as usual, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys use? Let me know in the comments below, and like I said before, I will link all of the videos of reviews that I have of the other collections that are out there, like the Galaxy, the ones that look like the swan neck brushes. All those links will be in the description bar below if you want to go check those videos out. Besides that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye, guys.